Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, and all those committed to understanding the economic and geopolitical forces shaping our world today, let me begin with a simple but powerful question. What happens when a conflict long treated as inevitable finally collides with political, economic, and social limits that can no longer be ignored? That is the question that the recent developments around the IDF's Operation Five Stones in Samaria and the discourse surrounding a so-called yesterday, anxiety about tomorrow, judgment from others, and if you let them, these thoughts will enslave you. They will whisper lies that you are not enough, that you are not capable, that your life is defined by circumstances outside your control. But here's the truth: your mind is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it serves you only when you wield it with awareness and intention. Learning to be present is not a luxury, it is a revolution. When you focus on the now, you reclaim your energy, your creativity, your clarity. You no longer live on autopilot, you begin to live deliberately, making every moment count. Presence is the bridge between chaos and control, between fear and freedom. It is the space where greatness is born, but presence is not passive, it is active. It requires training, discipline, and courage. It demands that you pause before reacting, that you notice before judging, that you breathe before surrendering to overwhelm. Each time you choose awareness over distraction, you are strengthening the most important muscle you will ever develop, the mind that serves you instead of the one that dominates you. So today I challenge you, stop letting your mind run wild. Stop giving your energy to thoughts that do not serve you. Take a deep breath, step into the present moment, and take command of your inner world. Your future is shaped by the choices you make in this very second. Master your mind before it masters you, and watch as your life transforms in ways you once thought impossible. Stand up, focus, and act. The power is in you, and the time is now. Imagine a life where your thoughts no longer control you, where the incessant chatter in your mind no longer pulls you in every direction, where worry, doubt, and fear are not the drivers of your actions. Every single day, our minds are flooded with a constant stream of thoughts, some useful, many unnecessary, and some downright harmful. The average person experiences tens of thousands of thoughts every single day, and the majority of them are repetitive, reactive, or negative. We wake up thinking about what went wrong yesterday, what might go wrong tomorrow, or what someone else might be thinking about us, and without realizing it, we hand over the reins of our lives to these thoughts. Our minds, meant to serve as tools, become taskmasters, pushing us towards stress, indecision, and inaction. The first step to taking control of your life is to see clearly that your mind is not inherently aligned with your best interests. It is reactive, habit-driven, and often guided by fear. The mind wants to protect you, but it often does so by keeping you small, keeping you stuck in loops of worry, judgment, and distraction. Recognizing this is crucial. Awareness is the first spark of freedom. When you become aware that your mind is running on autopilot, you begin to notice patterns, triggers that lead to anxiety, thoughts that spiral into self-doubt, reactions that pull you away from clarity. You start to understand that thoughts are not facts, that emotions are not permanent states, and that every reaction you have is an opportunity for choice rather than a mandate of fate. Mastering your mind begins with noticing these patterns without judgment. It requires observing your thoughts as a curious witness, understanding that the loudest voices in your head are not necessarily the wisest, and that control is not about suppression but about deliberate engagement. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you question the validity of a thought or decide not to follow it blindly, you create a small space of freedom. Over time, these small spaces accumulate, forming a new rhythm, a new relationship with your inner world. You begin to distinguish between constructive and destructive thoughts, between impulses that move you forward and those that hold you back. And in this space, you discover the profound truth that your mind is an instrument, not a master. It can generate ideas, fuel creativity, and help you navigate life, but only when you are present enough to guide it intentionally. Without presence, without awareness, even the most brilliant mind can become a source of anxiety and self-sabotage. By training yourself to step back, to witness, and to choose your focus deliberately, you shift from being driven by reactive thought patterns to being guided by conscious decisions. This process is not about eliminating thoughts, impossible as that would be, but about understanding them, shaping them, and letting the ones that serve your growth flourish. while letting the rest pass by like clouds in the sky. The more you practice this, the more you reclaim energy that was once wasted on endless loops of worry, regret, or distraction, and the more you empower yourself to respond with clarity, courage, and intention in every aspect of life. Every moment you spend absorbed in the past or lost in the future is a moment you steal from the only place where life truly happens, the present. The present is not just a fleeting point in time, it is the space where all transformation begins, where all decisions are made, and where true power resides. Yet so often we live disconnected from it, distracted by regrets that no longer serve us or anxieties about what is yet to come. Our minds habitually project stories of what happened or what might happen, convincing us that these stories define our reality. We replay conversations, relive mistakes, and imagine worst-case scenarios as if by endlessly running these mental films we can somehow prepare, protect, or predict our future. But this pattern only drains our energy, clouds our judgment, and distances us from what is actually unfolding in front of us. Learning to be present is about reclaiming that energy and redirecting it toward awareness, clarity, and intentional action. Presence is not a passive state of calm, it is an active engagement with the here and now, a conscious choice to anchor yourself in the reality that exists, rather than the illusions your mind creates. When you cultivate presence, you begin to notice details that were previously invisible, the subtle shifts in emotion, the tone of someone's voice, the texture of a feeling, the small wonders that make life rich and meaningful. You start to respond to life with intention rather than react impulsively. The ability to be present transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth and connection. A simple conversation becomes deeper because you are truly listening, not preparing your next response or letting your thoughts wander. A challenging task becomes manageable because you focus on the step in front of you rather than the mountain of work ahead. A moment of solitude becomes restorative because you allow yourself to fully inhabit it rather than filling it with distractions. Presence also changes the way you perceive time. Instead of feeling rushed, overwhelmed, or consumed by endless to-do lists, you experience a sense of rhythm and flow, where each moment has its value and purpose. Presence and awareness alone are powerful, but without deliberate action, their potential remains dormant. Mastering your mind is not simply about noticing thoughts or being in the present. It is about taking intentional steps that align your actions with your values, goals, and highest potential. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is an opportunity to exercise this mastery. It is in the everyday decisions, how you respond to frustration, how you invest your time, how you interact with others, that true mental strength is forged. When you act from a place of awareness rather than reaction, you reclaim control over your life. You begin to see that the external circumstances, the pressures, and the unpredictable twists of life are not what define your experience. Your responses define it. Each deliberate action reinforces a new pattern in your mind, strengthening the neural pathways that support focus, clarity, and resilience. Conversely, reactive behavior strengthens patterns that feed distraction, anxiety, and indecision. Understanding this is essential because mastery is cumulative. Every time you pause before responding to a negative thought, every time you choose focus over distraction, every time you act with intention instead of autopilot, you are rewiring your mind for empowerment. This is the difference between living as a passenger in your life and steering your own ship. Discipline is a crucial companion to awareness. Without discipline, presence can drift into passive observation, and insight can become intellectual without practical impact. Discipline is not about rigidity or self-punishment, it is about creating habits and structures that consistently support your growth. It is about showing up for yourself even when motivation wanes, about making choices that serve your long-term well-being instead of immediate comfort, and about holding yourself accountable to the standards you aspire to. In practical terms, this might mean setting boundaries around distractions, dedicating focused time to your craft, or consciously choosing responses that reflect your highest self. Action also requires courage, because the mind resists change and clings to familiar patterns. It whispers doubts and fears, attempts to rationalize procrastination, and magnifies risks. But when you act despite fear, you reinforce the truth that your mind is a tool to wield, not a dictator to obey. Courageous action accelerates growth in ways passive reflection cannot, because it transforms insight into experience and experience into mastery. Over time, the synergy of awareness, presence, and deliberate action creates a life that feels purposeful, empowered, and aligned. You become not only resilient in the face of challenges, but also proactive in creating opportunities. You begin to see each moment as a chance to exercise mastery, to live intentionally, and to shape your reality rather than be shaped by it. The consistent practice of acting consciously rewires your mind, builds mental resilience, and cultivates the self-discipline required to navigate life with clarity, focus, and strength. Each intentional choice, each measured response, each act of courage compounds, creating momentum that carries you toward the life you envision, the life that reflects not the randomness of circumstance, but the deliberate command of your mind, body, and spirit. The final transformative layer of mastering your mind lies in consistency, the relentless daily practice of applying awareness, presence, and intentional action to every facet of your life. Mastery is not achieved in a single moment of insight, nor in one extraordinary act. It is built in the countless decisions you make when no one is watching, in the disciplined repetition of habits that reinforce mental clarity, focus, and emotional resilience. The mind, like a muscle, grows stronger and more adaptable the more it is exercised. Each time you return to the present, notice your thoughts without judgment, or take deliberate action aligned with your values, you are strengthening pathways that allow you to respond to life with greater control, wisdom, and courage. But consistency is more than habit, it is commitment. It is the decision to show up for yourself day after day, even when fatigue, doubt, or distraction whispers that your efforts are futile. It is choosing awareness over autopilot, not just in moments of ease but in moments of stress, challenge, and uncertainty. Without this steady commitment, even the most profound insights can fade, and the mind can slip back into old patterns of reactivity, negativity, and fragmentation. Consistency also creates momentum. Each conscious choice, each small act of discipline compounds over time, creating a ripple effect that transforms the way you experience life. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, what once seemed distant becomes achievable, and what once felt out of control becomes within reach. The power of consistency lies not in perfection, but in persistence, returning to practice even after setbacks. Such measures faces its own set of moral and political pressures. Resources diverted to military enforcement compete with social investment, trust in institutions erodes, and public debate intensifies, creating internal tensions that can undermine the long-term sustainability of the strategy. The new Gaza approach also raises questions about international perception and legitimacy. In an interconnected world where information travels instantly and narratives shape diplomacy, the optics of fosters self-trust. When you consistently align your actions with your awareness and intentions, you build confidence in your own capabilities. You learn to rely on yourself, to trust your judgment, and to face challenges with poise rather than panic. This trust becomes a foundation upon which courage, creativity, and clarity are built. It is the internal assurance that no matter the circumstances, you possess the tools to navigate your mind, regulate your emotions, and act deliberately. Over time, consistent practice transforms your inner landscape. Thoughts that once ran wild now move through you without controlling you. Emotions that once hijacked your decisions now flow with awareness rather than compulsion. The present moment, once fleeting and overlooked, becomes a space where clarity, focus, and intentionality thrive. Through consistency, mastery is no longer an abstract concept but a lived reality, a way of being that permeates your thoughts, actions, and interactions. And as this daily practice solidifies, you begin to recognize that true freedom is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to navigate them with a mind that is steady, present, and deliberate, a mind that serves you rather than dominates you, and a mind that can create, respond, and thrive no matter what life presents. The culmination of mastering your mind lies in embracing the profound power of reflection and self-awareness, not as occasional acts but as continuous practices that shape every decision, every interaction, and every moment of your life. Reflection is the bridge between experience and insight. It is where the lessons of the past are transformed into the wisdom of the present, and where clarity emerges from the fog of thought and emotion. Most people go through life reacting to circumstances as they arise, rarely taking the time to pause and examine the underlying patterns that guide their actions. They are driven by habit, impulse, or external pressures, unaware that the quality of their inner dialogue directly shapes the trajectory of their lives. By engaging in consistent reflection, you create a mirror for your mind, allowing you to observe not only what you think and feel, but why you think and feel it, and how these patterns influence the choices you make. This deep self-awareness is essential for true mental mastery because it uncovers blind spots, the automatic reactions, unconscious biases, and recurring thought loops that often dictate behavior without conscious consent. It is through this process that you begin to disentangle yourself from limiting beliefs, habitual negativity, and reactive tendencies that have quietly shaped your life up to this point. Reflection also cultivates emotional intelligence because it allows you to step back from the immediacy of feelings and assess them objectively. You begin to recognize triggers, understand sources of tension, and differentiate between transient emotions and persistent truths. This understanding transforms challenges from obstacles into opportunities for growth, as every experience becomes a source of insight rather than a source of frustration. Moreover, reflection strengthens intentionality. When you regularly evaluate your actions, thoughts, and patterns, you gain clarity on what aligns with your values and what does not. This awareness allows you to course correct proactively, to choose actions that are congruent with your highest goals, and to eliminate behaviors that drain energy or diminish focus. Over time, these deliberate adjustments create a life that is increasingly guided by conscious choice rather than by circumstance. Self-awareness gained through reflection also nurtures resilience. When you are aware of your habitual responses, you can anticipate challenges, prepare your mind to respond effectively, and prevent small disruptions from escalating into larger crises. It provides the stability to remain grounded in the face of uncertainty, maintaining calm and clarity even when external conditions are turbulent. The practice of reflection reinforces the principle that mastery is not a final destination, but an ongoing journey. Every day offers a new opportunity to observe, evaluate, and refine the mind's patterns, building an ever deeper capacity to act with presence, discipline, and purpose. By committing to this continuous cycle of reflection and self-awareness, you develop not only control over your thoughts and emotions, but also insight into your own potential, unlocking creativity, focus, and a sense of inner freedom that allows you to navigate life with confidence, clarity, and unwavering intention. The final element in mastering your mind is the practice of self-compassion, the understanding that true mental mastery does not demand perfection, but rather the gentle, unwavering commitment to growth even in the face of mistakes, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Many people approach the mind with harshness, believing that control requires constant discipline, suppression of emotions, or rigid adherence to an ideal. Yet this approach often backfires. When the mind is met with judgment, it resists, creating tension, guilt, and inner conflict that only pull you further from clarity and presence. Self-compassion is the bridge that allows mastery to become sustainable. It is the recognition that every human mind is naturally prone to distraction, worry, and error, and that these moments are not failures but opportunities to observe, learn, and redirect with intention. By cultivating a mindset of kindness toward yourself, you create a space in which awareness, presence, and deliberate action can flourish without resistance. This practice begins with acknowledgement. When a thought spirals, a distraction arises, or a lapse in focus occurs, rather than responding with frustration or self-recrimination, you simply notice, you recognize that this is part of being human, and allow the experience to exist without attaching a narrative of inadequacy to it. This approach transforms mistakes into mirrors, reflections that provide insight into habitual patterns, triggers, and areas for growth. Over time, this transforms the relationship you have with your mind itself. Instead of seeing it as an adversary to be controlled, you begin to see it as a partner to be guided. Compassion creates trust. When the mind feels supported rather than condemned, it becomes more receptive to presence, reflection, and intentional action. You start to notice that mental lapses no longer spiral into self-doubt, that distractions can be redirected without inner struggle, and that challenging emotions can be processed without being overwhelmed by them. Self-compassion also reinforces resilience, because it provides a steady anchor in moments of stress or uncertainty. It reminds you that setbacks are not permanent verdicts, that difficulties are temporary, and that progress is measured in consistent practice rather than immediate perfection. By treating yourself with patience and understanding, you strengthen the very foundation of mental strength, the confidence to try again, the courage to face discomfort, and the willingness to grow even when the path is difficult. Furthermore, self-compassion allows for balance. Mastery of the mind is not about relentless effort or constant vigilance. It is about harmonizing discipline with ease, focus with flexibility, and presence with patience. It acknowledges the natural rhythms of energy, attention, and emotion, and works with them rather than against them. Through this balance, mental mastery becomes not a burden, but a sustainable way of living, a dynamic state in which clarity, creativity, and intentionality coexist with acceptance, kindness, and self-understanding. In embracing self-compassion, you cultivate a mind that is strong yet flexible, disciplined yet forgiving, focused yet adaptable, creating the conditions for enduring mastery and a life lived fully, consciously, and with profound inner freedom.